perhaps the most accomplished and successful Pro Mod racer of all time, winner of the inaugural World Series of Pro Mod in Denver, Colorado, took home $100,000. Let's give it up for Mike Bowman. Woo! Clap.
Thanks, guys.
What's up, Mike?
Yeah, you know, that was, I was telling Marty earlier, that was, as of to date, the most special race that I've ever won. I mean, I just can't even tell anybody how special that whole deal was and how it all came together and how the weekend ended. Like, holy crap! Like nobody expected that. I'm sure.
14 days. If I think it was 12 days before the race, you were undecided on coming.
Yeah, we were. We talked and we decided to make a run at it. And I was just telling Marty, we were talking, and I told him, man, I said it was kind of funny because I went out. I said, well, I guess we're gonna go. I told my wife Christy, I said, where are we gonna go? Let me go get the car ready. And she comes out in the shop, and I got the trans out of it. I got the rear end out of it. I got all this stuff we're doing. She's like, you're not going to make that thing run. You're changing everything. And I'm like, I got to change everything in order to make it work. And, you know, the rest is history. Like, as soon as we unloaded the car, that's what I was telling Marty, too. He didn't know this, but I said, not too many people knew this, but I was the first car to go in the fives at over 250 miles an hour at Denver in a door car. And Sporty Vandermeer, my best friend, Brian Strange, he walked over and he had the time slip and he handed it to Brian, and he said, I can't even say anything because it's a no-time event. I can't say anything. I can't say anything about how awesome this is right now, But, I wasn't the quickest guy at the end of the weekend. I believe I was the fastest, but I wasn't the quickest. But, we were consistent. And what a race in the final against Whiteley. It was just amazing. And, we both had to pedal it. And I knew that when I pedaled it, it was after him. And he wasn't next to me, and I thought, okay, you're done. That was it. So I was screaming in the car. We had some in-car camera footage, and we just started a YouTube channel, and I'm gonna get some of that up there. I promise.
Yeah, you gotta send me some of that because I don't know that I've seen that in-car footage, and I want to see it. You're about to make me cry. I gotta. I'm telling you.
No, it was. We were all crying on the starting line together after that. I mean, it was.
Oh,
that moment stands in time for me and my family, and just, man, I can't say any more about that,
I mean, to be honest with you, Mike, I feel the exact same way about that race. And, JT makes fun of me for crying, but, that was, for someone like me, I'd waited my entire life. Everything I had done in my life, every nightmare situation with my business or nightmare situation with the magazine or fighting with racers about the rules, it all in that moment, it was 1,000,000% worth it. That's all I had ever wanted in my life was to put on a race where Pro Mod cars are the show. There's no competition. I wanted it to pay $100,000, and it was to have it happen. I remember when Pete Farber did the first burnout in testing, right? We had 2 days of testing, and Pete Farber and his Daytona were the first car to crack a tire. And I got emotional during that because I thought, wow, it's happening. All this thought, all this time, all this stress. I mean, people don't know that I started making notes and started working on the idea that was the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod in 2011 was when I first started putting paper. I started working on that. I literally was in a hotel room in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I went out there for the ADRL drag stock, and this was kind of one of the ill-fated ADRL events. It was poorly attended. It had a lot of dysfunction and whatnot, and I remember it got rained out, or at least Friday got rained out, and I went to my hotel room, and at this time I didn't know that many people, or I don't know as many people as I do now, and I went to my room, and I was just sitting there kind of bored out of my mind, and the World Series of Poker was on ESPN, and I started watching this, and I don't know shit all about poker, right? And I'm watching it, and I'm like, man, this is actually pretty neat. They got all these characters, right? They've got, the 10-gallon hat wearing cowboy. They've got the trust fund baby. They got the mathematician. They got the emo dude with black fingernails and all of that. And I'm watching, I'm like, man, they're really developing all these characters. we should do something like this for drag racing. And that's where the World Series of Pro Mod was born. I sketched the logo, started coming up with my ideas on how I wanted to do it. I wanted it to be invite only. I wanted it to be winner take all. I wanted to predetermine the first round matchups. All these things, and to have had it happen and then to have someone like you win it was a really special thing, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into that.
Thank you very much. But I mean, I'm glad you did. Like, I can't tell you over and over again, I'm glad you did. And, we came back. A lot of people don't know this, too, unless they watched it. But, we came back for the second year. We crashed the car in between, got it fixed, and made it there for 18. And I ended up losing to Carl. And, he ended up going on to win it, and I literally lost by inches. Like, it was so close. I thought I got him, and I got him, Marty come on the radio and said, nope, you didn't get him. And I was in disbelief, And, but, it was an amazing race. Unfortunately, I didn't make it in the third year. We had another mishap, parachute problem, and wrecked the car again. So, I would have loved to have been there for the third one. It just didn't happen. I'd have been there if I could have. So,
well, I know you would have been, man. Yeah. And I don't know that ship has sailed. Officially, yeah. That is an event and a format that has really, it's stuck in my mind and stuck in my heart. That particular type, pro modified drag racing is, to me, I've said it a gazillion times. People get tired of me talking about it, but I've always believed that it's the universal language of drag racing. People know what it is. It's a big deal.
They do, and it's kind of funny because, I've kind of switched over to the No Prep Kings world, and in Pro Mod, all the Pro Mod guys kind of knew who I was and stuff, mostly because of what little bit of NHRA I did, but the biggest thing was your race. And I still have a car. I did sell the OG Pro Mod. It went to Idaho in a path to build a new NPK car, which we're still working on. We're getting close. We're hoping we're going to have it at the 9th race of this year. We want to win a championship. These guys out here are super damn tough. I'm telling you right now, my goal right now was to be in the top 8, and we're tied for, there's 3 of us tied for the top 8, myself, Lizzie, and Brandon James. And so we're kind of meeting our goals right now, and that's just basically keeping our heads above water until the new car, it's a Bickle car, until it's done. And once it's done, I feel like, where we're losing right now by like inches or a half a fender, or I'm barely getting beat. Kai Kelly put a car on me, I gotta say. That damn nitrous car is fast, you know what I mean? We just barely don't have enough, and no complaints, it is what it is, but this old car is just not what it is. This is super competitive, like beyond I think what people think. I
was going to ask you that, like, before because I want to touch on the format of the racing, but before we do that, as someone who has been involved with pro mod or pro street racing for a really, really, really long time, I personally think it's very telling that someone who has run NHRA Pro Mod, who has competed at the highest level of Pro Mod drag racing, was enticed to throw their hat into the ring with No Prep Kings. I don't believe you have a ton of experience in No Prep racing. I think the first time I bumped into you at one of those races was one of your first times out. I'm just curious, what was it, if you had to identify a couple of things, what was it, the challenge? Was it the money? Was it the fanfare? What was it about the No Prep Kings scene that tickled your fancy?
Well, I can tell you that just curiosity more than anything. It's like, okay, well, I've done the pro mod stuff, and that's been awesome. Kind of wanted to continue doing it, but they had this team concept that came out, and I was able to get lumped into that team, the Team California, against Team NOLA and Team 405, and all the different ones. So that was something I wanted to do. Plus the challenge of it. Plus my pro mod was down. Getting fixed, so actually was getting a new one built at that time, and I thought, you know what, I want to go to a couple of these and just see what it's like, see what it's all about. I liked the fans, that was huge. I liked the people, some of the people I already knew, so it wasn't like it was a new thing and meeting people. Some ways it was, some ways it wasn't. And I honestly thought I was going to go there, even with the old car, and I'm like, you know what, I got something for these guys. I got a fast car, I know I do, with the twin turbo deal, and I'm going to go give it hell. Well, I can honestly say that the challenge part kicked in because when we got here, we're in Ohio this weekend. We're just the first one that we came to after me racing in California last year and coming here. And Giuseppe and myself, we were just talking about how we thought, okay, we're fast. We know we're fast. We're going to go there. But we really didn't know the concept of the no prep on the racetrack. And all of a sudden we get here and we're just shaking the hell out of the tires and like, man, this is tough. The track's scraped. They've watched the track. There's zero prep. It'll start coming around after you're racing on it, but to come right out of the box, race your way in, like there's a lot of challenges there. Yeah, there is when you're qualifying in a pro mod field. That's tough too. Believe me, I understand that whole deal. This year, well, you don't get any test runs. You don't get any qualifying runs.
That was something.
They changed that a little bit. That's tough.
That was actually something that I wanted to ask you about because that off the trailer notion is pretty foreign to most drag racers. I mean, no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a bracket racer or if you're racing the high school program, you're going to get some time trials.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You're going to get a couple looks at it.
Yeah.
Was that a hard thing?
That was so hard, and it was so hard with a combination. And I'll say this: I've said it to all the turbo guys out here because I switched in the middle of the season last year. I got with Brad Personette, I got with Proline, I got with Jeremy at Brad Anderson. We all, put our heads together like, okay, well, how long will it take? Planned it all out. How long will it take to make a switch? When I left Ohio, as I was driving down toward Florida, I called Brad and we talked about it. And he said, man, I'm telling you. I said, well, I need you to come help me. You're the man when it comes to turbo stuff. You've helped me with the success and all of what I had in the past. And come help me and let's see if we can get this old car down the racetrack. And when he came to Florida to help me, we struggled. We still struggled. We tried things and we're like, man, this isn't going to work. And I'm like, okay, Brad, so what's the decision here? Do we make this switch? And he's like, yeah, like 100%, 100 times over, Mike. It's just easier to make that combination work. The turbo combination is so touchy in the way of track conditions and air, and there's a lot more variables involved. So, why not take some of those variables out of it, make the car a little bit lighter, and head in the right direction? You see the success that the Pro Charger guys have had. Look at what Ryan's done and all the other guys. So I went in that direction, and at that time, at the same time, we started the process of a new car. It's like, okay, this is a decision we have to make. We know that this car was not meant to do this. This car is old. It was a nitrous car. Matter of fact, that car won races, even Charlie Carpenter, like that, he helped us in 1995, put pistons in my motor in the pits. You know what I mean? Like the car goes way back history-wise, and it was a nitrous car legit. So the engine's not in the right place. It's too heavy. Like there's so many things wrong with it. I'm not complaining.
No, I get it.
Car's fast. We need that new car. We feel like if I can hang on to the top 8 and run with the baddest guys on the planet, no slouches out here. You don't stand up on the starting line when you're getting ready to draw for chips and go, oh, I want that guy, or I want that guy. Now, there may have been some of that last year, and I'm telling you, I was one of those guys where, they were hoping they'd get me, especially when they had the turbo combination. It was tough, because you got to do it 5 times in a row. So this is like,
right.
This is like it's a drawn out deal. Like, it's survival of the fittest. Who can go 5 rounds and do it almost as flawlessly as you can 5 times in one day?
I don't
just
think
like we did at your race. We did that at your race too. Same thing.
5 rounds of racing is a game changer, man. And I couldn't believe how much pushback I got. So for those that don't know, the first year of the World Series of Pro Mod, it was a 16-car invite-only field. That we had so much interest in the event for the following season. And I look back at this as one of my great mistakes. Like sometimes you got to own them. And this was one of my great mistakes, was expanding the field, because I had so many people ringing my phone after the first one looked so good and was successful. All these people were calling, going, oh, I want to come. Sorry I didn't come last year, but I want to come next year. So like an idiot, I expanded it to 32 cars. But that 5th round, that extra round of racing is extremely difficult, and nobody really likes to hear about a 32-car field, in my opinion. So to think about doing that, week in and week out. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that I want to talk to you about when it comes to No Prep King. So first and foremost, let's touch on that no time format. We talked about the off the trailer nature of it. Hearing you talk about Kai Kelly getting you by a car, I think that's kind of fun to say out loud. It sure sounds cooler than he clipped me by 400 or 400s. It is. I don't know what all you have on your car, and I'm sure you're able to get really close on what it's actually running, right?
I honestly believe it's running like a 390 right now. So that's what makes it tough is we don't get a time slip. We get nothing. We don't know what we're doing that day on this racetrack. Absolutely no clue.
It's kind of crazy to me. Has that been like a tough pill to swallow? I mean, you've obviously had some experience with it now, but like, is it okay at this point where you're pretty comfortable with it?
No, not really. I still struggle with it because, we don't often get any time to test at all. So now we're to the point where we want to test the car, so we got to wait until after the race and try to find a place. Well, usually I'm on an airplane flying home. I have a business to run and family to get back to and everything else. So it's super tough. And to not get a time slip, something to compare. You got to basically compare your run to time slips. That's where I think the guys that do tests have that advantage because, if they're going to 385, well, then they can overlay their runs and they can strategize and go, okay, this is what we need to run. We need to run a 385, and they're strategic. I'm telling you right now that when the day starts, track's not as good, maybe they're shooting for like a 395 just to make a good, clean run. No, unless you know who you're racing. I say, if I race Kai Kelly, first round, I'm throwing everything I got at it. And I'm hoping that he doesn't throw his 385 in it. I'm hoping he throws his 390, and he better beat me on the tree, that kind of thing. But I think based on what happened last year, some of the guys take me lightly, and that's fine. That's okay. Continue doing that. So, it's tough. Like
talking about new cars, talking about a new car. We've seen a bunch of new cars here in 2022. What do you make of that? Is that something that you see on the horizon as potentially being a problem eventually? Because it felt like a lot of the reason so many people gravitated from a fan perspective to No Prep King style drag racing is the cars. They still look like cars. They're not all super stretched out. They're steel roof and quarters. And I think more than anything, kind of talking about your Chevelle, like they're old cars. They're cars that have been around. They're not the latest, greatest, state-of-the-art hot rod from Jerry Bickle or Rick Jones or whomever, right? Do you see a problem on the horizon? Because obviously, based on what we're seeing Ryan Martin doing, that's what it's going to take to win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's already happened. So there's many guys that have stepped into new cars or are stepping into new cars. So that ship sailed. So they're already doing that. So the old cars kind of get put to the wayside, and that is the trick is taking that car and making it look like your old car. They've all done it. I mean, Daddy Dave's done it. He's got a top-notch car. Ryan has a top-notch car. Scott got a new car. It's a top-notch car. I mean, you could just go on down the line. Lizzie's done it. We've all pointed in that direction. Mine has just taken longer, unfortunately, than it was supposed to. So my goal was to start the season with the new car. But that didn't happen, just the way it goes.
Do you have any concern, Mike, of it like running some people off eventually, like the same way? I mean, it's part of it's the evolution of drag racing, heads-up racing.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so because there's so much demand for people to want to come do this, and if you come here, it's more laid back. The fans are super cool. They're super excited to see you. It's a little bit different when you've been on TV and you've done that stuff. You get a lot of notoriety. You've got, that's another thing. I kind of I earned my way in. They let me in. They weren't real excited about letting me in, I'll be honest with you. Just because of what I had done with the Pro Mod stuff. And so I have a street racing background. I had the car to do it, and I did. I went to the street, and I raced on the street. We did a couple of shows on the street. So we proved to them, and by the way, I thought going from a racetrack to that, I was going to be all nervous, and oh my gosh, what can I do here? And I wasn't a bit nervous. I was like, oh yeah, we're going to do this right now. So That makes me a little sick, I think. But
it makes me a little sick. I mean, I'm going, oh my God. I think about the caliber of cars that are competing on like strips of pavement out, in the boondocks somewhere, and it kind of makes my stomach turn. But I get it. I mean, that's where the action is. That's where the interest is right now. So, let's look at this weekend. I think we're on the start of a 4-week back-to-back. One of the things that I've 4 in a row for the No Prep Kings season 5, headed to Columbus. You're in Columbus right now at National Trail Raceway. What do you have to say about the professionalism that exists in this scene? Because I will be honest, and I think you will back me up, there's not a lot of pro mod teams that are prepared to race 4 weekends in a row.
No, and I say that about some of the guys. Some of the guys really aren't prepared.
Right.
They're one breakage away from missing a weekend or 2 to catch up. Look at what Swanstrom did. I mean, man, the credit I give those guys, I've never seen anything like it. So you've got guys like that'll prevail, and it's absolutely amazing. But yeah, some will struggle, but some will fight their way through it. It's just, I can't tell you how tough it is. 4 in a row is brutal. I mean, you're rebuilding engines. Last weekend we were in Epping, and in between one race to the other, we left Pennsylvania and we went to Russ. Yep. And my battery's going low, my earpiece. But we had to rebuild the engine, and the weather was horrible. It was rainy. It was windy. We rebuilt the engine in the trailer, in the bottom. Put it in the bottom of the trailer, put rods and stuff in it. So you got to do that stuff, on the road.
Well, dude, I remember when the NHRA Pro Mod Series had those 3 Pro Mod races back to back to back. It was like Charlotte, Bristol, somewhere, Norwalk or whatever. And it was 3 races in a row. And you'd have thought, there was nearly a revolt because none of those teams really had the manpower, the resources, just to get parts and whatnot. And I always use that as an example to demonstrate how serious and how high level No Prep Kings has become, because you start coupling 4 races in a row with a 15-race series. That's high-level drag racing. You literally, no matter, I know there's a lot of jealousy and there's a lot of kind of like different opinions. The street race, no prep thing is very polarizing in our space. I'm curious, we've seen this in the last couple of weeks with Manny Bajinga coming out and really making a bunch of waves. Marty Robertson is there this weekend. This has been a highly publicized debut with the Badfish Barracuda. You've obviously been there. What kind of feedback do you get from like your NHRA brethren and your traditional drag racing brethren about making the move to No Prep Kings and being so dedicated to this series? Do they support you? Are they surprised?
Yeah, I think they support me, and we're racing for a lot of money, and I think they see that. For me, I want to win the race. Winning money, that's great, but I want to win one of these races really bad. You know what I mean? I want to feel what it's like to win one, because it is so hard. Like, people, I don't know if they understand how hard it is, and it's a special thing, I can only hope that it'll feel as good as it did when I won your race, Wes, but I really want to win one. So I want to win more than one, but to do it in the next 4 weeks with this old girl is going to be really tough. Everything's going to have to go just right. We're going to have a perfect weekend, and somebody's going to have to miss here or there. So that's just the way it goes. But this is super tough, and everybody kind of supports me. I haven't had any pushback, really. Now, the street race, someone were like, "You're absolutely nuts. And you've hit your head. You fell on the ground. Somebody should be kicking you. You're like, what is wrong with you? You've lost your mind." And that's kind of what I get.
I might be one of those guys. But
it's crazy. I don't know if you watching that footage, but I had a couple close calls. I ended up in one lane. I had another guy almost hit me. He came in my lane. And I lifted, and whereas some guys didn't lift, and they ended up in the desert. So for me, guys are like, "Man, what do you think?" I said, I was pedaling it and just pacing him, hoping he'd get out of my way so I could run around him. That's what I was thinking. So, like, get the hell out of my way. But it is dangerous, and because there's no center line rule, so guys aren't, if guys are all excited and stuff, they're not thinking about lifting, which is crazy. So you got to try to be in front of him. I chased him to the dot. I'm going to go around him.
There's no center line rule?
No. On JJ's arm drop, there's no, fastest in America, there's no center line rule. You can come in your lane, get in front of you, and
So you
Use
could
the
just
door
like
on the
block.
other. Yeah, you
This
could.
is
You can
NASCAR style blocking.
but yeah, you can understand how dangerous that is and how bad that
it's
can go wrong.
terrifying
And
to even
it
say
did.
out
It
loud.
did happen. Yeah, we had one of our guys, crash. He came in and the other guy hit it right before it almost happened to me. So,
Holy moly, man.
those guys got to be more sensible about where they're at on the road, just as you are on the racetrack and when to lift. And I told the guys, I go, you guys know when to lift. I said, I do. It's not worth it to me to have that kind of situation.
Well, and that's a good thing for people to hear, and I appreciate you saying that on the show, because that's a message that needs to be repeated a lot. Before we let you go, and I appreciate you spending so much time with us today, but kind of last question, naming yourself, Marty, Manny Bajinga, are you kind of anxiously awaiting to see who's next to show up?
Yeah, I always am, because, well, you never know how long the show's going to take for them to bring them up. It's 100% their choice, and you want to be really positive about it, which those guys are. It might take a minute, so it may get frustrating, because it was for me at first. I was like, man, why won't they let me in? Like, I really want this, and they did, and I'm just so gracious about it with them, and I feel like I'm fortunate to be one of these 40 guys that are doing this. It is a special place to be in. It's super special. Oh, Bill Miller wanted me to say hi and make sure everybody knows he builds the best rods. He builds my rods and stuff.
Absolutely. And he's one of our longtime supporters, man. Bill Miller. Right. They don't make too many Bill Miller, man.
Yeah. And also, I have started. I want to tell everybody, please go to our YouTube, our Facebook, our Instagram. We've got that going now. It would really help us get this going. We've got a YouTube channel, Mike Bowman Racing, on YouTube. I'm going to subscribe right now. That would be awesome. Everybody could support me. That'd be awesome, because I want to be out here doing this for as long as I can, and it takes big dollars to go do this, and it's tough, to do it, and just the way fuel is and everything else.
Oh my gosh,
it's crazy.
It really is, man. Well, we are so excited to see you having this moment. We want to see you in the winner's circle as well. Make us proud. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the one and only Mike Bowman. Right. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Woo. Dude, I didn't honestly anticipate that being. That was a great interview. I love talking to Mike Bowman. He's one of my favorite people, man. He's got that California.
Yeah, that California cool. Like, just he's never overwhelmed by the moment. Just kind of taking it a day at a time. But he's been around forever. He told that story about my dad. When my dad was out in California, I guess helping him on a nitrous deal. It's kind of sad. All the great racers have migrated from nitrous to other combinations, but it's great to see. It's great to see Mike out there still fighting the good fight, and looking forward to seeing him get out with that new car. It's going to take a new car like that to be competitive in this series. Yep. JT, we just saw Dean Carnes release his new car today, a new CTSV.